Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you'll enjoy this live legal education content, and today will be the day I earned that subscription. For today's story, we are following the latest and perhaps last chapter in the Todd Chrisley saga. Todd Chrisley is the star of a reality TV show known as Chrisley Knows Best. It has been on the air for many, many, many years, at least 8 by my count, but perhaps more. And Todd Chrisley on the show lives a fairly extravagant lifestyle, a very rich and fabulous lifestyle with some rich and fabulous, at least according to his point of view, attire. Stuff I wouldn't wear unless I lost a bet. But all has not been well. There have been some problems and allegations facing Chrisley for some time regarding banking issues and tax issues and all kinds of stuff. Now, he had previously been charged by the state of Georgia relating to tax issues, but he was not convicted of those charges. There's a bit of a seedy story there as well, with some potential issues with the tax commissioner of Georgia, but we don't have to get into that right now. All you need to really know is that the state charges not so much. Well, the state of Georgia wasn't able to get him, but the federal government also had some thoughts, mostly around the not doing the banking fraud and the not, the paying the taxes. They like it kind of when you pay the taxes. So he and his wife had been on trial for the last several weeks in an Atlanta federal court, and they were just convicted today. So they are both facing up to 30 years in prison for the varying offenses that they've done. They will, of course, not actually serve 30 years because that's a statutory maximum, and they won't get that because they don't have the requisite criminal history score. But, they're facing several years in jail, perhaps a decade or more, realistically, given the number of charges we're looking at. But we don't really have to deal with the sentencing today. What we can deal with is that they're guilty. They're guilty of the things. Well, what things are they guilty of? Well, and what is the evidence for them? Well, to do that, my friends, I thought what we'd do is we would go over the superseding indictment, the charging document laid out by the federal government that was filed in February of this year. So there had been a previous indictment, and then there was a superseding indictment. So this is the one that they were just convicted of, and the indictment goes through the bare bones allegations of the offenses. And since they've been convicted, these are now facts. Because, the jury just convicted them, so these are facts now. Because the jury said they did it. So let's review some facts. Great, let's do that. So here is the superseding indictment that was filed in February of this year against Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley, as well as Peter Tartino. And here's what they faced. All right, so Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley are reality TV stars. Peter Tartino was a CPA. Peter Tartino, I believe, turned state's evidence and pled guilty. So he was a witness eventually against these people. So he was not convicted today because he had previously pled guilty. So let us review the fact pattern of what happened. From at least as early as 2008 through approximately 2012, Todd and Julie Chrisley, together with an individual known as co-conspirator A, controlled a Georgia company named Chrisley Asset Management, which, among other things, dealt with distressed and bankrupt properties, which is kind of hilarious, which earned millions of dollars in commissions and fees for managing foreclosed properties that were later sold to third parties. Fun. Todd and Julie Chrisley also owned a number of other companies, including Chrisley and Company, which was a Georgia company they used to receive income from Chrisley Asset Management. Okay. Excuse me one second. Returning. Beginning in 2013, Todd and Julie Chrisley controlled a company named 7C Productions. In 2013, 7C Productions was registered with the Georgia Secretary of State as a Georgia corporation. Julie Chrisley was later listed as the company's chief executive officer. In 2016, 7C Productions was registered with the Tennessee Secretary of State as a Tennessee corporation, and EFC was registered as the company's registered agent. Beginning in approximately 2014, Todd and Julie Chrisley, together with various family members, starred in the reality TV show Chrisley Knows Best and appeared on other television and radio programs. They have a podcast as well. A production company produced Chrisley Knows Best and paid the Chrisleys and other family members for their work on the show. Todd and Julie Chrisley used 7C Productions as a loan-out company, which is a common way for actors and entertainers to be paid for their services. Over the years, various entertainment and production companies paid millions of dollars to Todd and Julie Chrisley, the vast majority of which was deposited into 7C's banking account. So far, so good, right? This is perfectly legal behavior. We're just setting up some background of how we got to this wonderful, wonderful place with these people, right? They are involved in a real estate management company which deals with distressed properties, selling them on to third properties that are in foreclosure. And they have a very successful reality show as well as podcasts and their formats. And they are getting paid millions and millions of dollars through these various assets and various things. Perfectly legal behavior. Perfectly legal behavior. But, you know, it led to some problems. Let's read on. The IRS is an agency, well, it says was, but still is an agency that's responsible for administering tax law. Taxpayers who owe money to the IRS generally required to submit tax payments when they're due. Married couples typically fill out tax returns under married file jointly or married file separately. The IRS has numerous enforcement mechanisms, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just a brief background about who the IRS is. They collect the taxes. All right, great. In 2010, Todd and Julie Chrisley filed separately for federal income as married files separately. Perfectly legal. You can do that. You can file separately. You can file together. Perfectly legal. Todd Chrisley's 2009 federal income tax return was filed on or about October the 15th, 2010, with Todd Chrisley as a filing spouse and Julie Chrisley as a listed spouse. Todd Chrisley reported a tax owing of $701,000. On or about May 29th, Todd Chrisley caused to be filed an amended federal return, still saying he was filed separately, reporting tax owed of $400,000. So he filed a corrected tax form. Fine. Todd and Julie Chrisley filed their taxes as married filed jointly in 2010, 2011, 2012. That's fine. You can change your mind from year to year. It's totally fine. These tax returns reported taxes owed of $0, $50,000, and $23,000. Okay. Todd and Julie Chrisley did not submit timely tax payments to the IRS when filing the returns. At the certain point, IRS placed them in collection status for unpaid income taxes. You know, the IRS will harass you for a while and whack you around for a while. Then eventually they'll send you to collections, and it's IRS collections, so they're mean. These collection actions were stayed from the time when they entered bankruptcy proceedings, because bankruptcy freezes everything by law, in 2012 until the bankruptcy was discharged in 2015. Afterwards, the IRS filed liens or levies in counties in which Todd and Julie Chrisley lived or owned property in an attempt to collect the back taxes. This is all very normal. They did not file federal income tax returns or submit tax payments to IRS for 2013, 14, 15, or 16 tax years. Didn't file with the IRS for 4 years straight. Okay. All right, so this led to the following criminal activity. Not paying the IRS, by the way, is not exactly criminal. But it will get very uncomfortable administratively. But there are some criminal components there. Yeah. So let's read on. Would the mods who are here please ban just all the bots? Thank you. The grand jury realleges and incorporates by reference the relevant factual allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 14 of the indictment. Beginning at least as early as 2007 and continuing in or around 2012, the exact dates unknown, in the Northern District of Georgia and elsewhere, the defendants, Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley, did knowingly and willfully combine, conspire, confederate, agree, and have a tacit understanding with each other, and co-conspirator A, to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud multiple financial institutions, the deposits of which were insured by the FDIC. So they're FDIC insured banks, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which backs most banks. So the federal government has an interest in this. Yeah. All right. In violation of law. Well, how exactly did they do that? That's a good question. Todd and Julie Chrisley, together with co-conspirator A, conspired to submit false material such as fabricated bank statements and false personal financial statements to financial institutions to obtain millions of dollars in loans, much of which they used for their own personal benefit. Throughout the conspiracy, the co-conspirators submitted false documents to banks when applying for loans, included fabricated bank statements listing inflated account balances, personal financial statements containing false information about available funds, false invoices, and false audit paperwork. For example, on or about November the 5th of 2007, co-conspirator A sent an email to a bank that copied Todd Chrisley, attaching a personal financial statement that falsely claimed that Todd Chrisley had $4 million at Merrill Lynch. That would be part of the banking fraud thing. Is, saying I have money I don't have in a financial institution. That would be the fraud? Yeah. When the bank employee requested account statements, excuse me 1 second. When the bank employee requested bank statements, co-conspirator A sent Todd Chrisley a fabricated bank statement showing Todd and Chrisley had $776,000 on deposit. In response, Todd Chrisley told co-conspirator A, "You're an effing genius," misspelled. "Just make it show 4 million plus." I'll do it. In actuality, Todd and Julie Chrisley did not have a Merrill Lynch bank account at the time, and after they opened one in 2008, they never had more than approximately $17,000 on deposit. $17,000 being notably less than $4 million. For sure. As a result of false representations like these, a number of banks issued the conspirators millions of dollars in loans, much of which Todd and Julie Chrisley used for their own personal benefit. So they are falsely claiming they have assets. And based on these false statements showing false assets, banks lend them money that they think is secured against assets. And, no. Yeah, no. That's a problem. That's a banking fraud. That's a bingo. At various times during the conspiracy, Todd Chrisley personally directed the co-conspirator to send false information to the banks. For example, when one bank provided notice in April 2008 that it would not be able to renew a loan without updated financial information, Todd Chrisley instructed the co-conspirator, "Please get her the financials, and I will get her the rest." After co-conspirator A responded, "I don't have financials on these. She has tax returns," Todd Chrisley wrote, "Stop telling me this shit. Create them like you always have. If you don't get these, then they want to renew the loans." Yeah, that would be the forgery and the fraud. Yeah. When another bank provided notice in 2008 that they need updated financial information, co-conspirator A told Todd Chrisley that he or she needed assistance in putting the requested financials together. This prompted Todd Chrisley to write, "Give me an excuse as to why you cannot figure this out. It does not move it off your plate. This is not what we discussed. Passing it back and forth is not getting the results requested. If you do not know how to do this, then find a crooked accountant to do it. Ask Redacted who her guy uses for his crooked shit. See, my friends, this is the kind of thing that the federal government will use as evidence that you might be intending to commit the fraud and the forgery. This is the kind of thing that they might use against you. Hey, don't give me that crap. Just forge harder. If you can't forge harder, find someone who can. Contact this guy. Ask who they use for the forgery. This is going really great over here. The conspirators continue sending false information to the banks even after receiving the initial loan disbursements. At times, they did so in hope of renewing loans. At other times, they did so to conceal their financial difficulties and prevent the banks from seeking legal redress. Because if they knew the truth, maybe the banks would, default them on the loans. Because, the fraud, and try to get the money back. So they had to keep it going even after getting the money. All right. For example, in 2009, a bank representative told Todd Chrisley and co-conspirator A, the last personal financial statement we have in file of 2009 looks a lot like the 2008 statement we received. Yeah. Cash, securities, and real estate all exactly the same. We have a review coming up and would like to show this accurately, so no one's questions how they could be the same 7 months later. So the bank says, wait, we have two statements that are 7 months apart, and they show the exact same thing. That seems slightly odd. Why are they exactly the same? Todd Chrisley forwarded this message to co-conspirator A and stated, bring down the security significantly. The bank representative further notified Todd Chrisley and co-conspirator A that we have FDIC examination beginning on Monday, September 14th, and your file will be one they review. Any assistance you can provide to update your statement would be appreciated. So the FDIC, which is a federal institution, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, they back the banks so that your deposits are secured against the bank failing, because banks fail. They don't actually fail that infrequently. Smaller banks, obviously. Bigger banks don't fail that much, but smaller banks fail. I've spoken to people at the FDIC before because, as a lawyer, you go to conferences and law conferences and you go to law associations and you run into all kinds of lawyers. And I've run into lawyers for the FDIC and talked to them a little bit about it. And basically they have banks fail all the time. Small banks, but still, banks fail all the time. And so it's not that big. It's not that big a deal for the person because their assets are protected because of the FDIC. And this is one of the things, because the government is backing the loan or backing the bank, right? They are the securitor for the bank. They like to know that their investment is secure, because if they're not secure, the FDIC, for example, or the federal government can shut down the bank. Right? So if they find out they're cheating or whatever, they can shut down the bank to help hedge their loss. And so the FDIC, among other things, likes to audit the bank's books to make sure, that like any insurance company, they're an insurance company, and they like to make sure the books are solid. So they go to the bank and be like, oh, we're going to audit your books. And so the bank are going to, they're about to audit our books, and these numbers look suspicious. So if you could get us corrected numbers so that we could get them to the FDIC so it won't, create a problem for us, that would be great. But now if you didn't know before, now you have actual knowledge you're defrauding the federal government. Because they just told you, right? You now know that your stuff is about to be used as backing for a financial audit. And so now you're about to lie to the federal government. So, but you got to keep the fraud going, so why not lie to them too? This would be why. They catch up with you eventually. Okay, similarly, when attempting to provide evidence of available funds in April 2012 to a lender, Julie Chrisley forwarded a copy of a check to co-conspirator A and Todd Chrisley and instructed the co-conspirator that the post date is the only thing that needs to be changed. So they want to change the date on the check to a different date. which is also the fraud. The attached check stated it had posted in February 8th. Todd Chrisley then instructed the co-conspirator to make sure it's perfect before you send it to whoever, as there can't be a screw up, and she looks at this stuff fairly closely. Presumably this is someone at the bank. You know, because they're looking at it closely. Because the FDIC is looking at it closely. Because of the audit, which is, again, fairly routine in the grand scheme. So they're looking at it carefully, so don't screw it up. Great. Shortly thereafter, the co-conspirator emailed Todd Chrisley an altered copy of the same check, falsely showing it had posted on November the 1st, 2011. So it posted actually 3 months earlier. The fraud is fun. The fraud is all the fun. We are having so much fun with the fraud. The co-conspirators also used Chrisley Asset Management funds to pay down outstanding loans for their own personal benefit. The co-conspirators did so knowing the company often held outstanding checks or debts that otherwise would not be covered by remaining balance. As a result, Chrisley Asset Management began to have significant financial difficulties. So now, on top of everything else, because they're robbing from Peter to pay Paul, which is very typical and sort of how these things fall apart, right? So they're stealing money from the banks, from the loans. Now they have to back up the loans, right? So they back it up with forged documents. But now they also have to back it up with money. So now they're taking money from the corporation improperly taking money from the corporation to satisfy their loans, satisfy the banks, and live the lavish lifestyle they want to live. Again, these people aren't poor. They're raking in actually millions of dollars. They have income of millions and millions of dollars. In reality, they have income of millions and millions of dollars. But they're spending way more. Way more. They are overspending their huge income. And this happens somewhat notably sometimes to rich people. This happens a lot to people who inherit wealth, usually second generation inherit wealth, right? Because there's a common idea that inherited wealth never survives more than 2 generations deep because of shit like this. Although that's not a universal rule, it's pretty good, take home. Like inherited wealth disappears by, 2 generations down because of shit like this. So inherited wealth, the people inherit from the people. So not the children, but the children's children usually fuck it up. And then lottery winners, this is very common of. The number of lottery winners who wind up bankrupt makes you wonder if winning lottery is ever a good thing at all. And you don't even have to be a lottery winner. You can point to other people who raked in millions and millions of dollars and basically wound up bankrupt. Personal favorite example is MC Hammer. He rakes in so much money and he winds up just spending it all and he winds up bust. It's a fairly common story. It happens to athletes. Happens to athletes not infrequently. They have these contracts for millions and millions of dollars to play the game and they wind up bust with nothing in retirement. It happens to movie stars. It happens to lottery winners a lot. It happens to people with inherited wealth. It's amazing. It's amazing how some people can just truly blow through money. Even when they're raking in millions and millions of dollars, they can just blow through money because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, even though they are the Joneses. So I guess this is proof positive that money truly doesn't buy happiness. Because if it did, these people you'd presume would be very happy. But they're not very happy. On the plus side, though, their new living accommodations and meals are all expenses paid. So that's nice. They've got housing and food and accommodations, all expenses paid for several years now. So that's plus. That's good news. Once it became clear that Chrisley Asset Management was insolvent and the co-conspirators could no longer pay back the outstanding loans or obtain new loans, Todd and Julie Chrisley sought to hide their involvement in the conspiracy by some more forgery, because it's just worked so well the first time. They falsely claimed they did not know co-conspirator A had submitted false documents. Yeah. Unfortunately, co-conspirator A is now a cooperating party with the federal government, so yeah. For instance, in August 2014, in a sworn affidavit, Todd Chrisley falsely stated that co-conspirator A had used his accountant's signature and stationery without knowledge. However, approximately 3 months earlier, Todd Chrisley had emailed the co-conspirator asking, "Can you please place this on the accountant's letterhead with his signature, and then sign Julie's name below the accountant's address letter to whom it may concern?" You gotta love it when people are just this blatant with the emails. People send all kinds of shit in the emails. This is an email. You gotta love the email. I never heard of this guy. I never knew he was doing these things. I never knew he was submitting the false documents on the letterhead 3 months earlier. Hey, co-conspirator, could you please forge this and put it on the letterhead with the fake signature? Okay, thanks, bye. Okay, thanks, bye. You might have known him a little bit, So yeah, once again, since he's convicted, these are all facts now. Fantastic. Let's press on. All right. But there's more. Wait, there's more. More with the bank fraud. Beginning in 2007 and continuing until 2012, aided and attempted the co-conspiracy of the financial institutions. Here's some more information about some more bank fraud. What bank frauds did this entail? Let's read some details. On or about the dates set forth below, the defendants aided and abetted each other and the co-conspirator, knowingly and attempting to execute the scheme by the following. And here's some specific counts. As to count 2, in June 12, 2009, causing a false personal financial statement to be transmitted to Midtown Bank. Count 3, July 6, 2009, causing a false financial statement to be transmitted to Gulf Southern Private Bank. Count 4, July 6, 2009, causing a false statement to be transmitted to the Unity Community Bank. Count 5, August the 8th of 2009, causing false audit paperwork to be transmitted. Faking the audit trail, that's always good. Count 6, August the 18th, 2010, causing false personal statements to be transmitted to Wells Fargo. There's some more fraud for you, but wait, there's more. How about the wire fraud? The wire fraud's always fun. The wire fraud is one of the government's favorite things. The wire fraud is one of the government's favorite things because it's just so easy to commit. That and the lying to the feds, 18 U.S.C. 1001 and the 18 U.S.C. 1343 with the wire fraud. It's like the government's favorite things because people lie to the federal government all the time, and the wire fraud is really, really easy because all you have to do is use any kind of communication medium other than like writing, like in an envelope, in which case, welcome to mail fraud. But basically anything else, any sort of wired or wireless communication that transmits a audio, video, or digital signal. So, that covers a lot of territory. So, yeah. They knowingly committed the wire fraud. Even after terminating the relationship with co-conspirator in 2012, they continued to submit fabricated bank statements and other false statements. See, that's both bank fraud and wire fraud. They get a twofer for you, right? They get a twofer for you, which is true for so many of these crimes, right? Just because you did one thing doesn't mean it's not more than one crime. It can be multiple crimes all at the same time. And it's not double jeopardy because you are doing more than one bad thing, right? Number one, you transmitted a false thing over a wire for the purpose of committing a fraud. That sounds like a wire fraud to me. But what was the thing you transmitted? Oh, it's false banking documents. Welcome to door number 2 with the banking fraud, right? You get a twofer. Buy one, get one free, right? You transmitted the fraudulent documents by wire. Also, they were banking documents. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't do that. Yeah. Okay, you sent an email to a realtor attaching a City National Bank account statement of a balance saying you had $86,700 in the account. In reality, you had negative $14,530. Well, that's almost off by exactly $100,000. Hey, I transmitted a statement to a realtor saying I had $86,000 in my bank account. How much did I actually have in my bank account? Negative $14,000. Great. Just great. Julie sent an email in 2014, including a hyperlink to a Google Drive file containing a false Equifax credit report. The false credit report stated their reports were 767, 770, and 817. 817 is pretty fucking great. In reality, the credit scores were not that high. They're not going to tell me how high they were, though. That's disappointing. 815 and 817 is pretty damn good. I mean, it's only up to 850 for those of you who don't know, by the way. So 817 would be pretty fucking good. On or about July the 26th, they sent a copy of a BB&T account statement saying they had $409,000 in the bank. In reality, how about the zero? We have $409,738 and 85 cents. In reality, zero. Yeah. After submitting these false documents to a realtor, they obtained a lease on a house. On in 2014, they materially transmitted the wire communications in interstate commerce. Yep, that'll do it. So what have we learned so far about the Chrisleys and their fun times and adventures? Well, let's just catch everyone up on where we're going right now. So far, what we've learned. Todd and Julie Chrisley are stars of a TV show known as Chrisley Knows Best. They may not in fact know best, but they were on the TV for 8 seasons telling people they knew best. On the TV show, they lived a rich and lavish lifestyle, which isn't too surprising because they were in fact rich. They were in fact raking in millions and millions of dollars through fully legitimate and legal means. They had the TV show, which was paying them. They had this asset management company, which was dealing with distressed properties, and they were doing very, very well for themselves with a lavish, rich lifestyle. Unfortunately for them, the millions and millions and millions of dollars was not enough for what they really wanted to be, which was even richer. So they started spending more money, a lot more money. And what we've learned so far is that they've committed the bank fraud and the wire fraud and the forged documents and saying they have assets that they don't and getting real estate based on loans of assets they don't have and lying to the banks, knowing that they're going to be audited and also faking the audit records and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun times with forgery. And also we know that they communicated this intention to their co-conspirator, not so much by saying, the crow flies at midnight. The rain in Spain is dry. The cupboard is bare. I like popcorn. Not so much with the coded messages. Instead, the messages were more along the lines of, hey you, co-conspirator, yes you, hey, could you forge the documents? Could you forge them on the letterhead? Could you forge the signature? What do you mean you can't do it? Don't bring me this bullshit. Forge harder. Outsource the forgery. If you can't do it, contact this guy. He is a really good forger. Forge the documents harder. It was more along those lines. Not so much with the covert, hidden communication. Yeah. conspiracy to defraud the United States. The United States doesn't really like that very much. Okay, they willfully, voluntarily defrauded the IRS. Yeah, not so much. How did they go about defrauding the IRS? Well, they owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS for 2009. And then they sought to hide income from the IRS by directing third parties to sell millions of dollars of assets to 7C. Oh, they're hiding money from the IRS. Oh, joy. That's not going to come back to hide you in any way. Even though Todd Chrisley exercised control over 7C and had access to bank accounts through the conspiracy, his name was never listed as an owner on the documents filed with Georgia or the Tennessee, and was never a signature on the company bank accounts. Instead, Julie Chrisley, who, as listed spouse on Todd Chrisley's original and amended tax return, did not owe IRS money for that tax return, noted for that one, was listed on 7C's production documents and its signature authority. Oh. Well, you're trying to hide money from the IRS. Oh, okay, that's usually good. Defendants knew that Todd Chrisley controlled 7C through the conspirator pursuits. In fact, Todd Chrisley had a website named toddchristly.org that included an article titled Todd Chrisley Starts Film Production Company 7C. Well, it does seem like there might be some sort of tie between Todd Chrisley and 7C. However, was the government able to figure this out? By going to toddchristly.org. Yeah. Defendant purposely kept Todd Chrisley's names off of 7C's bank accounts and corporate filings to impede the IRS. Yeah. To further the objectives, defendant also sought to evade payments of taxes by hiding their income from the IRS and impeding the IRS. For instance, Todd and Julie Chrisley removed Julie Chrisley's name from 7C's bank accounts in order to hide their income from the IRS. In 2017, Tarantino notified Todd and Chrisley that an IRS revenue officer had requested copies of the bank statements for accounts on which Todd and Julie Chrisley had signature authority. In response, defendants sent the IRS a number of bank statements, including those for 7C. Fun. On March the 7th, 2017, the day after learning about the IRS's request, Todd and Julie Chrisley caused them to open another account at Bank of America, with EFC listed as the sole individual with signatory authority. Julie Chrisley emailed Bank of America's representatives a document entitled Board of Directors and Shareholders Resolution adopting amendment to Articles of Incorporation for 7C. The document falsely reported that 7C's Productions Board of Directors had modified the company's Articles of Incorporation to state that EFC owned 100% of the company's stock and would serve as company president. Todd and Julie Chrisley then directed the entertainment production companies to deposit future earnings into that bank account. So because their accountant accidentally slipped up and told the IRS about the bank account, no problem. Let's create a completely new bank account and send all the money there so the IRS doesn't know about that bank account. This is just a master's class in what not to do, kids. This is a master's class in what not to do with the fraud. Don't do the fraud. Don't do the fraud. Don't create new bank accounts and with fake articles of incorporation and fake papers and fake signatures in an attempt to fool the IRS. Don't do any of these things. Todd Chrisley may in fact not know best. This is the what not to do. Remember how the slogan of this channel is "We learn from the misfortunes of others." This would be what that's talking about. This is how we learn from the misfortunes of others. Don't do this. Don't do this. Todd and Julie Chrisley knew that EFC was not the president and owner. In fact, in 2017, while having to show sufficient funds, Todd and Julie Chrisley told a mortgage broker that Julie Chrisley was the owner, telling them different things. In keeping Julie Chrisley's name off of the bank account, Todd and Julie Chrisley sought to hide income from the IRS. Yeah, don't do that. The defendant continued to take part in the conspiracy even after acknowledging they're required to file tax returns and pay taxes, dues, and owing. You know, incidentally, for whatever it's worth, by the way, just as an aside, right? The federal government is not going to whack your ass around for making a mistake on your tax returns. Okay? I have made mistakes on my tax returns in the past. The IRS sent me a letter. I paid the correct taxes. End of analysis, right? It was an honest mistake. The IRS was more than happy to correct me on it. I paid them the amount due. Everyone's happy, right? The IRS and the federal government are not going to come after you for making mistakes on your taxes. They're complicated. Everyone makes mistakes. They are going to come after you when you start with the forgery and the fraud and the fake bank accounts and the fake bank statements and the fake audit trails and the moving money around from one bank account to another for the purpose of hiding your assets. That's the time when the IRS and the federal government starts to get grumpy. So if you could just, not do those things, and if you make an error and the IRS sends you a note and be like, oh, I made a mistake, my bad, here's the money I owe you, and everyone's happy. Just, maybe less with the overt fraud scheme. Please send this forged documents person on the fake. Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. Defendants continued to take part in this conspiracy even after acknowledging they're required to file tax return and pay taxes due. For instance, in 2017, Todd Chrisley asserted, obviously the federal government likes my tax returns because I pay $750,000 to $1 million just about every year. So the federal government doesn't have a problem with my taxes. The federal government has a problem with your taxes. In fact, when making those public statements, Todd Chrisley knew he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS for 2009 tax year and had not filed federal income tax returns or paid any income tax for several years. The IRS may not, in fact, be thrilled with your taxes now. That's... Defendants also continue to take part in this co-conspiracy even after receiving repeat notices that are required to file tax returns and pay taxes. In March 2017, the IRS sent correspondence to the defendant about taxpayers' income, including a pamphlet entitled, Why Do I Have to Pay Taxes?, which states in part, while taxpayers have a right to contest their liabilities in courts, taxpayers do not have the right to violate and disobey the tax law. Yeah. Unscrupulous individuals and promoters advocating willful non-compliance with the tax laws have been used a variety of false or misleading arguments for not paying the taxes. Yeah, don't go into the tax denial or sovereign citizen loopholes. You'll lose your mind. Yeah. However, the defendants then failed to provide the timely tax returns. But wait, there's more. There's more. It's not just that we got the tax returns wrong. Now we're going to actively impede the IRS. That's, Throughout the conspiracy, Tarantino provided false and misleading information to the IRS. Tarantino falsely told the resource officers that Todd and Julie Chrisley could not afford to pay their taxes, and he did not know certain information about them, such as where they banked or lived. Try not lying to the federal government. That's a problem. In one instance, Tarantino falsely told the revenue officer that Todd and Julie Chrisley's daughter was the owner of 7C, and that she paid Todd and Julie Chrisley their salaries. In providing this false and misleading information, Tarantino sought to impede the IRS collection to collect Todd and Julie's unpaid taxes. Oh yeah, by the way, while I'm on the subject of things, if the IRS ever calls you, and B's like, well, first of all, they won't, because the IRS doesn't call people. So first of all, if the IRS calls you, it's not the IRS. So don't take the call, because the IRS doesn't do that. They send letters. But if the IRS contacts you and be like, hey, we have a few questions about your tax returns, get a lawyer. Just get a lawyer. Just friendly advice. In my particular case, it was an honest mistake and it wasn't worth getting a lawyer. and I just pay them the money. But, as a tip to you, if the IRS contacts you, you might want to run it by a lawyer first. If it's, any amount of any real value is in particular. Okay, let's see. For instance, in 2000, and I'm probably, the probability that now that I'm going independent and I'm going to have to do my own taxes, the possibility that I'm going to screw up taxes in the future. I know I'm not 100% sure I did my taxes correct this year. I think I did. I certainly tried my absolute best. But now that I'm independent and have to collect my own taxes and send them in, it's so, it's I have some sympathy for the people who are a little unsure. Just don't do it with the purposeful fraud. Again, the IRS is more forgiving with the mistakes, not so much with the fraud. Don't do the fraud. Get a CPA. I might have to get a CPA in this upcoming year. I might have to get a CPA in this upcoming year. Yeah. I have TurboTax though, so it's all good. And they haven't contacted me yet to let me know that my taxes were wrong. So I had to write them a check this year too. So yeah. Anyways. Mr. Pickle donates money to insult me. Mr. Pickles, you get to be banned. Bye. Thanks for your money, though. I'm going to use it on booze. Yeah, I just quit my job. My last day is July 2nd. All right. I'm still keeping his money. To further the conspiracy, on or about February the 2nd, 2018, they knowingly lied to federal agents employed by the FBI that Tarantino falsely stated he did not know how Todd Chrisley earned his money. These statements and representations were false because Tarantino then and there knew they received income through 7C. Don't lie to the IRS. It was my choice to leave my job. Yeah, it was my choice. This has been a long time coming. I've talked about it before. I don't have to talk about it in extended detail, but I've talked about it before for years. Well, yeah, probably for years at this point. That I'm becoming increasingly unhappy at my job, and I need to step away. And I'm going to do the full-time YouTube thing for at least 6 months and see how it goes, and then reevaluate. But I need to stop doing what I'm doing for at least the moment. I can't keep doing it. So yeah, my last day is July 2nd. So excellent. All right. Yeah, if anyone else wants to give me health advice in the form of super chat, I will also happily take your money and then ban you. Throughout the conspiracy, by the way, in case you're curious, today I'm just wearing that mint green one of the HD Foundation finishing powder. The mint green one I think is really working. So that's the only one I'm wearing today is the mint green one. I might continue using that one as I experiment with the different makeups. False statement for third parties. Throughout the conspiracy, defendant falsely claimed to third parties that they had filed federal tax returns. File your federal tax returns, people. Yeah. Incidentally, this was where I got into my minor trouble with the IRS. This happened when I was 18, I think, or 19. I didn't think I had to file a tax return. The IRS disagreed with me. So Yeah, I wound up having to write them a check. So, lesson learned. File your tax return. Yeah, the mint green powder I'm using is NYX. I had it on screen the other day. It's their high definition finishing powder from NYX. I showed the powders that I've been buying a couple different ones. Stephanie got me on this kick. She recommended a powder that I liked, and then I've been trying other powders. And the one I tried, the one I'm using today is this one called NYX HD finishing powder in mint green. And the mint green helps to counter the red. So far so good. Carrying on. Yeah, NYX seems, and it wasn't very expensive. It was cheap. It was like $5 or $7 at the grocery store. So yeah, keep trying. Anyways, let's see. Carrying on. It's definitely not a bruise kitten. No. You need to blend a little bit more under the eyes with concealer. I'm not wearing any concealer. Maybe that's part of the problem. Like I'm literally just wearing the one powder. All I'm wearing is the in terms of makeup, all I'm wearing is the NYX HD finishing powder in the mint green. I'm not wearing any concealer. So otherwise you just get me. But carrying on, pressing on. They claim to have earned $217,000 in income. I don't know, $59,000 in taxes. They claim that they earned $737,000 in income, to $264,000 in taxes, but she didn't actually file any of those tax returns, so those were all lies. I'm not sure where she keeps up any of these numbers. Fun times. Yeah. Yeah, color correction. Exactly, color correction from the Johnny Depp trial. So exactly right, yeah. So trying different makeups and trying different things. Stephanie recommended this loose powder from Maybelline that I've been using. That was working pretty good, but the loose powder, got everywhere. And so then I tried a pressed powder from Maybelline. That seemed to work really well. And then I just thought I'd try the NYX mint green one because that's a pressed powder and it helps to counter the redness in my face. And that seems to work really well. So, all kinds of good things. We're making progress over here on Uncivil Law, man. Makeup tips, and you spent all day explaining bees aren't fish, Stephanie. Did people at your workplace have some questions about whether bees were fish? Is it possible that some people at your workplace might have gotten the memo about the bees and the fish living together and might have had some questions for you? Did you get some questions at your workplace about the bees and the fish? I'm glad I could help. Who thinks bees are fish? Oh, my friend, I have an entire video about it. On my channel. It's only like 3 days ago. I have an entire video about it. Who thinks bees are fish? The California Court of Appeals does. In Richmond. In Sacramento. That would be the one. Yeah, the California Court of Appeals in Sacramento thinks that bees are fish. I have a whole video on it on my channel. That's who. They did? Thanks. I look forward to this live being over so that you and I can talk more about this subject. That sounds fun. Would you like to call me, Stephanie, like right now? I could put you on the phone on the broadcast. If you call me on my if you call me on my Instagram or something like that, I can put you on the screen. I can put you on screen because I can take the audio on my computer and we can talk about it. You can tell me all about the bees and fish. I'm sure that people would love to hear about it. Okay, carrying on. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Moving on. File copies of the returns, stating I've attached the last 3 years of returns. When causing these materials to be transmitted, they knew then and there that the reports had not been filed. So they're just more with the lying. Throughout the conspiracy, Todd and Julie Chrisley made large personal expenditures while knowing they had significant tax liabilities and while claiming to the IRS they had financial difficulties preventing them from paying those tax liabilities. For example, in 2010, Todd and Julie Chrisley transferred more than $800,000 from Chrisley Asset Management into Chrisley and Company bank accounts, much of which they then used for their own personal benefit. However, Todd Chrisley failed to pay any of the $701,000 he initially reported as due and owing when filing his 2009 return. I know they did, Stephanie. I know they did. Call me on Instagram. We can talk about it on a stream. In promotional video for Chrisley Knows Best, which was filmed in 2013, Chrisley states, I make millions of dollars a year, but we have the same issues that people who are making $40,000 a year have. I mean, no. Todd Chrisley further claimed that in a year we probably spent over $300,000, sometimes more, on just clothing. That is insane. Spending $300,000 on clothing in a lifetime is insane. Spending it every year is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs insane. Over the next several years, Todd and Julie Chrisley earned millions of dollars from Chrisley Knows Best and other media ventures, which were then largely used for their own personal benefit, all while claiming they had insufficient funds to pay down Todd Chrisley's tax liability and while failing. Can I call it? Yeah. Can I call you, Stephanie? I'll call you. We could have fun. For example, in 2017 alone, the entertainment companies wired over $300,000 in 70 production banking account. The same month, Todd and Julie Chrisley spent over $7,000 at an electronics store, $2,000 at a luxury retail store, and thousands of dollars at department and clothing stores. 3 months earlier, they claimed they did not have any resources to pay the IRS. Oops. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, overt acts. In order to carry out this conspiracy, they did the following things. Cause 7M to be incorporated in Georgia. Cause 7M to be 7C. Apologize, 7C, not 7M. Apologies. Those are different companies. My bad. Cause 7C to be incorporated in Georgia. Cause 7C to be incorporated in Tennessee. Electronically filed a corporate tax return for 7C, omitting all information about 7C's productions, revenue, and distributions. Cause EFC to open up 7C's bank account. Email the bank representative with false information. Tax evasion. Bees are fish. Bees are fish. Bees are the very best kind of fish. The bees swim in the water. The bees spawn up the lake. The bees dive down for the worms. Set up a live later, I'll call. Deal. Just let me know when, Stephanie. We'll definitely do it. It'll be great. This what are bees? What are fish? Son, today I want to tell you about the birds and the fish. We have to have a man-to-man about the birds and the fish. What is that George W. Bush quote about this? Hold on. Can I get this right from George W. Bush? Hold on. It's something like, rarely does anyone ask how man how the man and the fish can peacefully coexist. Is that right? This is going old school. So I guess now to reframe that in modern parlance, so paraphrasing now George W. Bush, rarely is the question asked, how can the man and the bee peacefully coexist? It gets deeper with every passing moment, guys. It gets deeper with every passing moment. Stephanie might have said F you about the bees and the fish. It isn't me, Stephanie. It's the California Court of Appeals. It's the law now in Sacramento. What do you want from me? I'm just reporting on the news. I'm a legal education channel. To quote another famous judge, soon to be justice, I am not a biologist. Bees are fish. Excellent. All right. In 2009, federal income tax return, we married filed separately, listing file with spouse as owing $701,000. They caused amended return to say $400,000. They aided and abetted each other to evade and defeat payment by committing the affirmative acts. Using a nominee business entity to conceal income, using nominee bank accounts to conceal income, providing false information to the IRS. That'll do it. Aiding the filing of tax returns. Peter Tarantino did all that stuff too with the help. Aiding Peter Tarantino did the stuff. Obstruction of justice. Julie Chrisley obstructed government. They subpoenaed bank records. The subpoena required all contracts and agreements. Acting on behalf of 7C caused submission of records. This produced various records to Todd Chrisley. Acting on behalf of it, submitted false information, contained handwritten changes. Ooh, handwritten changes. That's exciting. Specifically, this version crossed out the statement that EFC was 100% owner. Okay, that's interesting. So Julie Chrisley is sending in the documents. The documents say that EFC is the owner, but she's hand correcting them. Okay. This version also contains signatures of both Julie Chrisley and EFC and was hand delivered to the government. An attorney for 7C Productions later represented the government the following. The resolution accompanying my letter of June the 7th, 2019, supplementing 7C's production request to the grand jury is the second or replacement resolution given to the bank. By way of further explanation, a resolution was given to the bank on March 7th via email contained in my June 7th letter. On March the 8th, EFC made changes to the resolution and brought it to the bank by hand. That second resolution was the first produced to you in my June 7th letter. It was not attached to the original email from Julie to the bank. The bank should have the first resolution as well as the second. So trying to cover their tracks. Yeah. What's going on? What's going on is that bees are fish, and Todd Chrisley is going to prison. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then also, so those are all the crimes that we did. And then, of course, on top of the criminal conviction, we want all your stuff. Criminal asset forfeiture. We want all your stuff. So for all the things you did, we want any property that constitutes or derives from any proceeds obtained directly or indirectly, including any property, real or personal, constituting derived from proceedings. So we want all those things, and if not those things, then we want the money, monetary value, and of course we're going to get those things. So they're guilty, they're going to jail, and bees are fish. These are some of the things that we've learned in this document. So they're facing, hypothetically, a maximum of 30 years in prison. They will not get that much because they don't have a criminal history for it. Although, I don't know, man. On this one, with this much stuff, I think they might get an elevated thing. So we'll have to see in terms of how much time they're going to wind up getting. But I think not less than 5 years. and probably realistically not less than 10. Well, maybe not less than 10 is charitable. Let's say 10 is a good average guess. So I think 10 years seems about right, based on this, because there's a lot of things with the tax fraud and tax evasion, the bank fraud and the wire fraud, and a lot of things. So, each of those things is an aggravating factor, right? So each of those things is an aggravating factor. So it's like you put into the 30-year sentence what they would get, and then you aggravate all those things based on all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, and perhaps even worse than the 5 or 10 years in federal prison, perhaps even worse than all that, is the government's going to take all your stuff. Whatever's worse, whatever's left. The government's going to take all your stuff, and they don't really care about state like homesteading exception laws because they're the federal government. So they're going to take all your stuff. So first of all, they're going to seize all the assets that are a result of any of your fraud. So that's a lot. So they're going to take all that. And then on top of that, they still want their taxes, right? Because all that stuff was ill-gotten gain, but it was gain. See? So they want all the things that you gained from the fraud, plus they want the taxes on the gain. I mean, you gained it. You owe taxes on it. So first they're going to take all your things. First they're going to take all the money from the fraud, and then they want the tax money on top of the fraud, which you don't have any because they just took all your money. So basically, you're completely destitute is the short end of that. You have nothing left. They're going to take all your things. They're going to take your homes, your cars, your clothing. They're going to take all of it. And they're going to still owe the money when you're done. So, yeah. So you owe them all that. So basically just write a check for all the things. Write a check for all the things you have. Just write all to the federal government. And then you just put in your bank account balance, still to pay, still all remaining. So not going well for the Chrisleys. So they are completely, totally screwed. They will get out of prison, and they'll be given a sack. They'll get given a sack from a bag of potatoes, and told to make it work. Not literally, but close. So let us. Yeah. They are going to take all your things. They're going to seize all your things. Oh, this means. Oh, there is some good news though. There is some good news though. Because this means I can bid on Todd Chrisley's jacket now. Ooh, that's exactly what that means. That's exactly what that means. I can bid on Todd Chrisley's jacket because the IRS is going to take that shit and they're going to do it at a tax sale. And and any member of the public can bid. I can own Todd Chrisley's sparkly jacket. Ooh, fun and exciting. That could be my sparkly jacket. Previously worn by Todd Chrisley. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can do that. I mean, that means I can live Todd Chrisley's lifestyle. If I had the money, I could buy his house and his cars and his clothing. Just yoink, that's my lifestyle now. I am Todd Chrisley. I own all your things. Yeah, so good times. Yeah. So that will be happening at some point in the future. This has been fun. I appreciate it. So for the 1,600 of you who are here, thank you for being here. Please remember to check that subscribe button, see if you're still subscribed. I'm going to give Stephanie a call. See what can we arrange in having her on stream about the bees and the fish. So I will. I'll hang out with you later. And then, of course, I have to read your super chats before I sign off. So let me do that. And the other question is, what does this do for Katie Joy Paulson's lawsuit, or the lawsuit against Todd? I mean, it's even more dumb. I mean, technically speaking, yeah, it doesn't technically do anything to it, but, like, he's defamation proof. I mean, you know, you can't defame him. His reputation's garbage. It's all gone. So, you know, I don't see that lawsuit continuing to survive anywhere. So, yeah. I think, and I forget why off the top of my head now, but one time when I was talking to Stephanie, we're talking about Lindsay Chrisley, and I forget why, but Stephanie said something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Lindsay Chrisley's potential lawsuit gone too. Because initially I thought maybe Lindsay Chrisley might have a lawsuit, but no. I forget why, but yeah. I think this is the end of the Chrisleys versus Katie Joy Paulson. So let me read your super chats and then I'll sign off. Jason said, thank you for your great legal analysis. As I watch this live stream, there are TV shows on the background. Chrisley knows best. Not so much, I guess. No, not so much. But their fashion needs and their food needs and their housing needs are now going to be all expenses paid. So they will no longer have to worry about those issues, at least for the next couple of years. Mr. Pickles donated some money, and then I banned him because he was trying to give health advice. And no. Anti-Commie became a new member. Thank you for hitting the join button. Someone became a member and has been a member for 4 months. Thank you. Erica said, Kurt, your sarcasm makes my day. I'm glad. Very good. All the times. Secret McSquirrel says, you just answered mine? Okay, that's good news. Anti-Commie is a supporter for 6 months. Thank you for hitting the join button. Chemical Hazard said, howdy from PF, Kurt. Grats on last day, and I hope you have great success. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Jason said, good luck with that. It's a big jump to leave a job. Yeah, it is. But you know what is best to do for yourself. You make great content and make us think and analyze. Thank you. I'm giving up a not insubstantial amount of money. But, you know, as they say, money isn't everything, right? So, yeah. Pat says, you still look a bit red, but you're wearing a red shirt. Your skin looks smooth and clear. Awesome. Thank you. Air Chunk said, take care of yourself first. Wish you great success. Thank you. Vickery says, Kurt, do you think they'll have split sentences based on their minor children? Thank you. Probably not, to be honest, because by the time they're done, their children will no longer be minors. Unless they have really, really young children. But I don't see that being a major factor, to be honest. And they seem equally guilty. And actually, if anything, I believe she's facing more charges than him. I'd have to double check. Or has been convicted of more. British Gridiron Film says, come to the UK for the finest bees and chips. Will do. Secret McSquirrel, what effect will this have on the defamation case? I don't think it had any legs to start with, and it has even less now. And Scott Baines became a new member. Thank you for hitting that join button. Well, thank you all to all the people that are here, the 1,448 of you who are here. Thank you so much. We will be on later today with more content. It'll either be an edited video at 6:30, 6:45, or, which is 2 hours from now, I guess, or we might do another live stream tonight. I have to talk to Stephanie first. So all that good times. So we'll do all that stuff. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things, tell your friends, send out a tweet. I mean, this should have been automatically sent out on tweet because of the bot. So, you know, retweet my stuff. There you go. Just hit the retweet button. That doesn't take any time. Hit the retweet button for a video or two. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, all the good stuff. Help us grow. All the good things. We'll continue producing great quality content. And we're trying to put in more visuals into it. So in the last couple ones, I think you've noticed, hopefully, we put in some more visuals to try to break things up visually. So hopefully you're liking that. We'll keep doing that. Until then, my friends, I hope all is well. Cheers and goodbye.